Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Numan and you are watching Numan's Opto Hub. In today's lecture, I am going to tell you about the eye prescription card. What is the eye prescription card? First of all, we need to understand the meaning of eye prescription card. In simple word, the card which contains information or have a record of my refractive status in simple way. What does it mean? It means that the card which contains or have a information about my refractive status, have a record about my refractive status. That card is called eye prescription card. Before going to this card, first of all you need to understand the meaning of some abbreviations which I write here. So what is the meaning of these abbreviations? For example, if I am writing about the refractive status of my right eye, so how I know it, where I can write about my refractive status of right eye in this card? How I can know? I know it by these abbreviations. I am able to know it by these abbreviations. For example, here you see a columns, here you see a different columns and rows. We will also come to these abbreviations, but first of all we need to understand where I can write the right eye refractive status or the left eye, or about the left eye refractive status. So here you see a card. This is the eye prescription card. Here this top, the right top, you can see it right eye. So RE means right eye. If we want to record refractive status of the right eye, then we will mention the number here. Okay, we will mention the number here. So now come to the next. LE means left eye. So where we can write it? We can write at this point. These are the columns, or these are the columns, or these are the rows where we can write left eye number, or the about the refractive status of the left eye. Okay, but what are about these words? First of all you need to understand the meaning of these words, then I'll tell you if you see these words, what does it mean in eye prescription card. Okay, so these are words coming from a Latin. Okay, Latin language. OD comes from a Latin which means oculus dexter, Okay, in Latin oculus means eye, and dexter means right. So by it I can understand easily, it means right eye. In Latin OD stands oculus dexter, and in Latin oculus means eye and dexter means right. It means we are talking about the right eye. Okay, so the next word is OS. OS means oculus sinister. As we know that oculus means eye and sinister means left. In Latin sinister means left. So if we see in prescription card OS, it means that we are talking about the left eye. Okay, so here we are also able to write it OD, which is also meaning that right eye. Okay, or in left side we are able to write OS, which means we are talking about the left eye. So come to the next word, OU. The next word is OU. In Latin, as we know, O stands oculus, and oculus means eye, but here OU means oculus uterque. Oculus uterque. My Latin pronunciation is not too much good. So here oculus uterque means, as we know, oculus means eye and uterque means both. So if we see OU, it means we are talking about the both eyes. We are talking about the both eyes. OU is a Latin word which means that, which is an abbreviation or means that oculus uterque, and it means we are talking about the both eyes. Okay, so there are some other words. These two words also come from Latin, but nowadays they are not commonly used, but we should have a knowledge about them. Okay, we must have a knowledge about the every single concept in a prescription card. Okay, so what is the meaning of VR? In Latin, VR is abbreviation visus remotum. Visus remotum. In Latin, visus stands vision. Vision, and remotum means distance. So what does it mean? It means we are talking about distance visual acuity. VR stands about my distance visual acuity. VR visus remotum. Visus means vision and remotum means distance. So if we see VR, which nowadays which are not commonly used, if we see it, it means that visus remotum, and visus remotum means that we are talking about the distance visual acuity. Okay, so now come to the second word. VP, which stands visus proximum. So as we know that visus means vision, and in Latin proximum means near. So if I see VP, it means visus proximum, and visus proximum means we are talking about the near visual acuity. Okay, so these are the Latin words which I explained you. So come to the next words. Here DV means distance vision. Here you see it. Here you see it. DV means distance vision. So by this word I am able to understand these are the row where we can write about the distance visual acuity number. If I am myopic, for example, if I have -1 in my right eye and -2 in my left eye, so how I know it? Where I can write it? How I know where I can write it? By this word, which means distance visual acuity or vision, distance vision or distance visual acuity. By this word I am able to understand this is the column where we should write or where we can write about the refractive status of distance. Now come to the second word, which means that NV stands for near visual acuity or near vision. So by this word NV, which means near visual acuity or near vision, we are able to understand this is the column or this is the row where we can write about the near visual acuity number. The last word is VA, which means visual. VA stands visual acuity. Visual acuity means, here you can see it, visual acuity means what is the visual status of the patient. What is the visual status of the patient? The patient is 6/6 with this number. The patient is 6/6 or 6/12 or 6/36 with this number. So these are all the abbreviations. Now come to the eye prescription card. Now come to this card. Here you can see a general information about the patient or the date. Okay, so the name of the patient XYZ, but in this portion there are two main things. Which things? The first thing is age, and the second thing is date, which is most important for us. How they are important for us? This is a question. How they are important for us? For example, if the patient is 8-year-old, if the patient is 8-year-old on 2 Feb 2023, okay, 2023. So if this patient again come to me after 2 years, let's suppose this patient again come to me in 2025, let's suppose after 2 years on the same date this patient come to me. So on this date, now what is the position about the refractive status? The refractive status of the patient is stable, or have a minor change, or have a major change. After 2 years the patient again come to me. So what about the refractive status? What about the refractive status? The refractive status of the patient is stable, minor change, major change. So by these two things I am able to understand, or I am able to find it. The patient is having minor change in his or her prescription, or a major change. If I didn't mention on this date, I am not able to understand. If this portion is missed, this is a drawback, okay? This is a drawback for us. Okay? So now come to the prescription card. Here you see SPH, CYL, axis. What is the meaning of this word? SPH means that spherical number or a sphere, okay? SPH means that spherical number, okay? So what is about the CYL? CYL means that cylindrical number in my glasses, okay? So this is the important thing. If we see a cylinder, there will always be a axis. No cylinder without axis. Axis may be 180, 100 or anything, okay? This is not our concern. If there is cylinder, there will always be a axis. No cylinder without axis, okay? So what is the main difference between cylinder and sphere? The main difference between them is sphere don't have an axis, but cylinder always have axis, okay? So how we can write a number here? Now come to this point. For example, if patient have -2 dioptric sphere, DS means dioptric sphere, okay? If patient have -2 dioptric sphere with -1 DC means dioptric cylinder, okay? If patient have -2, -1 dioptric sphere at the axis of, for example, 10 axis, okay? For example, at 10 axis, the patient is having -2 with -1 cylinder at the axis of -10. So how I can write this number on this card? I can write it like this: -2 with -1 cylinder at the axis of 10 degree. Some people also write or also mention a degree sign here, but this is wrong. Why this is wrong? This is wrong because this will confuse a dispenser or a person which dispense the glasses. So the dispenser or the person which will fit the glasses, they might be confused with this. So don't mention a degree sign. Axis meaning that Axis also meaning this is an angle. We are talking about the angle. So don't mention a degree sign with axis, because axis already means that we are talking about the angle. By dV means distance visual acuity, I am able to understand this is the row where I can write distance visual acuity number. The next step, what is the visual status of the patient? What is the visual status or the visual acuity of the patient? The patient is 6 by 6 with this number, or 6 by 12 this number, or 6 by 9. For example, the patient is 6 by 6, 6 by 9, 6 by 12, or what is the visual status? So this is most important or necessary for you. Always mention a visual acuity. If you do a refraction, or if you do a refraction of a patient, always mention a visual acuity with that number of the patient. Okay, for example, with this number my patient is 6 by 6. Okay, so here I can write it. So here we can see how we write a distance visual acuity number in this eye prescription card. The most important thing with the number, is that always mention a sign with the number. For example, my patient is having -2 or having +2. So it is necessary for me to always mention a sign with the number. Don't write a number without the sign. Always mention a sign with the number. Okay. So here you can see I write a minus at the upper side of 2. So there are two options you can write. The first option or method, you can write -2 like this, or you can also write -2 like this, but you are not able to write -2 like this or -2 like this. Okay, this is wrong, this is right. Okay, this is the most common way we used, but you can also write like this. Okay, these two are correct, but these two, sign after the number, this is wrong, or sign under the number, this is wrong. Sign upper the number or sign in front of or before the number, this is correct. So this is all about the signs, or how we can write a number for the distance visual acuity in eye prescription card. So after it, I also want to discuss some case with you. What case? For example, if my one eye having -1 number, or my other eye is emmetrope or 6 by 6 without any spectacle correction. So how I can write it? There are always two lenses which are dispenses in our glasses. Okay, so if my patient having a number in one eye but other eye is 6 by 6 without a number, how we can write a card of that patient? We can write, first of all we write this number, then we will write this word on this row. So what is the meaning of this word? The word means that plano lens. So if my patient having a number in one eye but the other eye is 6 by 6 without any number, so I write a card like this, plano lens or plano. Okay, so by this the dispenser will understand how they will dispense the glasses. Okay, so this is the case number 1. The case number 2 is that if my patient is amblyopic, and I want to give a patching therapy, partial patching therapy with a ground glass. So how we can write? So this is too simple. We can write ground glass here. So if my patient is amblyopic and I want to give a patching therapy, how I can write card? I can write card like this. Okay, Now come to the next column, which has NV, and NV means near visual acuity. Okay, NV means near visual acuity. There are two ways or two methods you can write near visual acuity number. Okay, the first is very simple. Simply you write a line which means add +2. For example, I am giving add my patient +2, add +2 dioptic sphere, DS. We discussed DS means dioptic sphere in both eye. What does it mean? It means if I want to give a near add to my patient, which is presbyope, near add to my patient, how I can give add in this card? Simply write this statement. The near add must maybe in your case +1, +2, +1.5 or anything else. Okay, so if I want to give a near add, simply write this statement here. For example, I give a add +2, so I write a card like this: add +2 dioptic sphere in both eye. And what is the visual acuity? What is the visual acuity in near with this number of my patient? This is necessary to me to mention here. Okay, it may be N5, N6. In my case, the near visual acuity of the patient is N6. So this is the first way. The second method is also simple. If you don't want to write like this, you can also give add. For example, I am giving add my patient +2. Simply add this sphere to the distance sphere. My distance sphere was +2 and this sphere is +2. +2 and +2, 2 and 2 is 4, +4. So simply write +4 here. Only add in sphere, only your near add in distance sphere. Okay, after adding, write here, and same cylinder and axis. Remaining of the cylinder and axis will copy here. Okay, so always give near add into the distance sphere. Okay, so this is the second way to write a number. By this number, what is the visual acuity of the patient? This is necessary for me to mention here. Okay, here you can see IPD. IPD means intrapupillary distance. The distance between my pupils, this is called IPD. It means that intrapupillary distance. This is necessary for us to mention intrapupillary distance of the patient. For example, in my case, this is 62 mm. Okay, so the next is BVD. What is BVD? BVD means the distance between back surface of the spectacle lens to the front surface of the cornea. What is the meaning of BVD? BVD means the distance between the back surface of the spectacle lens to the front surface of my cornea. This is called BVD. For example, in my case, the BVD is 12 mm. The BVD most commonly 12 to 14 mm. So the next word is remarks. Remarks is totally up to you. For example, you want to mention my patient is myopic, my patient is hypermetropic or something else, or you want to say to your patient to continue the same glasses. Remarks is totally up to you. Okay, remarks is totally up to you. So after it, here you can see a signature option or a sign option where you can sign to tell others this is the card written by you. So these are all the concepts which I want to clear to you about the eye prescription card. I hope all the concepts regarding eye prescription card is clear now. This is all about the today's lecture. Goodbye till then the next lecture.